to New York and then navigating what it meant to kind of find myself in a new land amongst new people. But I'm going to do it with the help of GLSEN. So I think that the best part about working with GLSEN and being able to develop the resources for our community is that the resources that we develop are really help our students, not directly in the coming out process, but in the different steps of their journey, right? So it's when you're in elementary school or junior high school or high school that we develop these programs that create a supportive network, kind of that net that picks you up and supports you so that you know that there are some people available in your journey, wherever that is. So we meet people where they are in this really long journey that we're still currently in the process of discovering, right? And for myself, to give you context of where I come from and what my journey has been like, I was born in Mexico City to a devout Catholic family, right? I had 13 uncles, 6 and 7 on my mom's side and my father's side, a ton of cousins, probably 50 on both sides. So there was a tremendous amount of fear in being any different than the people in your family, right? And so I grew up hearing these homophobic, transphobic remarks my entire life. So fear was instilled in me very, very quickly and at a very early stage in my life. There were also negative stories of LGBT identified people, negative associations and stereotypes that I kind of grew up that kind of fostered that fear. My wallet. And then that continued when I arrived here in New York. You continue to hear bias remarks in schools, right? Bullying and tormenting was kind of an everyday thing from elementary school to high school. You know, I recognize that, you know, I benefited from the privilege of being assumed heterosexual for most of my life until I decided to come out in college. But I could see every day the torment that students, that those really strong students that identified, had the courage to identify as LGBT in high school, went through. And I was a silent bystander, right? Which is part of the reason why I do the work that I do now with GLSEN, because I wasn't strong enough to do something when I was in high school. And so now, working with an organization that researches the experiences of LGBT students in schools, it kind of resonates loudly in my head, right? So when our research team comes back and tells us that LGBT identified students are more likely to miss school, that resonates really loudly with me, because I went from being an honor student in junior high school to being a truant in high school and being severely undercredited and close to not graduating high school. And if it wasn't because of supportive adults like Christina alluded to before, I don't think I would be in the position where I am now. And luckily I have a platform to be able to give back to other students who might be experiencing something similar, so that they don't have to feel or go down the path of not believing in themselves and not actualizing to their fullest potential. You know, because I identified as LGBT and maybe not externally, internally in the struggle in high school, my educational aspirations were affected, right? But being LGBT or identifying as LGBT wasn't also my priority in high school. You know, as a Latino, as an immigrant, I struggled through a lot more, and which took precedent over my identity as a gay man. So, you know, I worried about whether my parents were going to have enough money to put food on the table. I worried about whether or not my mom was going to be safe because she was experiencing domestic violence. I worried about graduating. I worried about my sister graduating. I worried about whether or not we could pay the bills. So there was so much more to worry about that this kind of compounded. And this is something that students struggle with every single day. So our resources really meet students where they are. And if I think back to how I could have benefited from some of the resources that GLSEN provides, I don't know if any of you have ever participated in the Day of Silence, but one of the memories that I have in high school of knowing that I wasn't alone was during the Day of Silence. It was an annual thing that happened, and as a freshman team, the GSA students that were part of that group participate in the Day of Silence. made it comforting for me, even though I wasn't out, to know that I wasn't there by myself, and that I wasn't struggling through these feelings of isolation by myself, and that I could have a community if I wanted it. These safe space stickers that GLSEN has, seeing them in the guidance counselor's office, it wasn't, for me, it was more about solidarity, and if I needed it, or if I could reach out to this supportive adult who has now visibly shown their support for me, I could depend on this person if I want. I wasn't strong enough ever to do that, but I think that is also incredibly helpful, because that safe space sticker is directly correlated to our safe space kit, and that kit teaches educators and administrators to be supportive allies to LGBT youth, specifically around the issues of coming out, right? So like, how do you prepare yourself to be a supportive adult and to listen, and to not make that coming out process about you and what you're experiencing, and rather more about being able to listen and being able to be an ally to these students who are coming out every single day, younger and younger every single day. So, you know, I also come from a really gay family. So my sister came out when she was 14. My brother came out when he was 14. And so it delayed my ability to come out until I was 25. So I was the last hope for my mother. And so after my sister had a kid, I finally was able to come out and say, all right, you have your grandchild, I'm gay. Take the pressure off of me. And so now, you know, you should get my mom to join P-Flag somehow, because she'd be able to tell a really good story. But part of the coming out process for us is also allowing our parents that grief to be able to move on and to kind of reconstruct their dreams about our future for themselves, right? And for me, that dream changes from having a whole bunch of kids and a wife to now my mom, every time that I visit on Sunday, bringing out the People magazine with Ricky Martin on the cover with the 2 kids, and saying, he has 2 kids, where are you? Right? So I think the one thing that we can do as people, as educators, as parents, as friends, is just really learn how we can become supportive allies to LGBT youth, to make sure that that coming out process is maybe not necessarily seamless, but a lot less hurtful at the end. So.